land and timber aplenty.
The Mother Earth.
Reap what we sow.
Dead on the ground.
Tradition.
On Saturday night, I could hear the piano playing.
Picking and fiddling.
All day singing.
I had the joint jumping.
I need to make some changes.
And we shall keep segregation within the law.
Fight back.
Say that I was a drum major for justice.
Wisdom and knowledge.
It's long hours and hard work.
You did the right thing, heart of the community. The dream is so large, and it's worth whatever I can put into it.
In 1975, after decades of bloody combat, South Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos fell to communist forces. Over the next 15 years, an estimated 1.6 million people fled those countries for refugee camps and a new beginning that brought many of them to America.
People who are refugees have to have a bona fide fear of persecution. The Cambodians, Laotians, and Vietnamese that are in Alabama and in the country generally suffered persecution because they were on the wrong side in the war in Southeast Asia, the Vietnam War that ended in 1975.
While most refugees in America have resettled in large urban areas, over 4,000 now live in Alabama. They have come here to join relatives and find a job. They are now part of Alabama's cultural landscape. Cambodians in Irvington live in an isolated village-like environment, as close to their homeland as possible. Laotians in Opelika are integrating into the local community and working in a major industry alongside Alabamians. Vietnamese have been in Bayou La Batre for over a decade because of the fishing industry, but their presence continues to draw mixed reactions from the locals.
I've heard people say that they don't have to pay tax, or that they get an allowance of X amount of dollars a month forever, or that their children get to go to college free, or that they get new cars or new boats or new houses or whatever. The list is endless in its faults in every detail. Refugees, whatever they have, they earned. And that would be one message I would love to have the American audience hear this time about refugees.
I have to say that I've met a lot of people who've lived through real horror stories, and loss of family and persecution, hunger and abuse. And what I see there is a resilient human strength in those families, that they are still prepared to make a new life and to grow, to work, and be part of our culture. And that's always impressed me.
They have seen too much death, too much hatred, too much hunger, too much disease, too much sadness, too much for any human being to see. And for them to come together and heal is important.
When the pavement ends and you drive down Anchor Road in Irvington, Alabama, you plunge into another culture, a tightly knit village of survivors. Charleston Conley survived the brutal regime of the Khmer Rouge to come to America in 1981, along with over 200 refugees resettled that year by Catholic Social Services in Mobile.
They were confused, they were frightened, they were sick, they were hungry, they were in terrible condition.
The worst of it was Conley lost 4 of his oldest children, all presumed dead at the hands of the Khmer Rouge.
No one, safe at all. At least 2 or 3, or sometimes the whole family, sometimes the 2 or 3, family that, killed by Cambodians, killed by nothing to eat, killed by no medicine, killed by,
Conley was an aide to a general in the Cambodian army. He escaped the killing fields by acting like a peasant farmer, eating small insects and mice to prevent starvation. Today, he is director of the Cambodian Association of Mobile.
He's kind of the village leader, you might say. He's able to live both in the Cambodian world and the American world. As a person, I think he's kind of incredible.
Conley's proud of this community, which could easily be called Little Cambodia. It was formed in 1985.
The fact that it's 100 acres in a rural setting allows the people to maintain some of the traditions and customs that they practice in Southeast Asia. Their gardens, the fact that they have a temple there, it's the only temple in the 5-state area.
Chris Dyer, an anthropologist from the University of South Alabama, is studying the community.
So they're very comfortable in that setting, and it allows them to replicate the lifestyle that they were used to. And in a sense, it softens a blow when they come to this country. There are very few areas, in fact, there are no areas that I know of in the United States where immigrants have been able to come in and establish a village-like setting.
We try to let all the children how to learn some Cambodian, how to read or write some Cambodian.
They reach a certain level and they're not able to communicate with the parents beyond basic baby talk. So that there are breakdowns in communication and breakdowns in control, and that's the big one, the breakdown in control.
It is a problem most refugees and immigrants can identify with. But while the children play on the temple grounds, speaking basic Cambodian, some parents are trying to meet their children halfway, learning the fundamentals of English. Equally important to the Cambodian Association is passing on the cultural traditions, many based on Buddhism.
Religion is the center, the focus of the community life. Every possible time there's a ceremony, the whole community comes together and works as a group. They keep the energy of the community, they keep the remembrance of the people, they keep a feeling of Cambodia.
We try to perform the children, to know how to set up the ceremony, how to go to Buddhist way. When the old die, the young have to what the young have to do, to remember the spirit that the old people already died.
100 days after 2 of their people drowned in the Gulf of Mexico, the Cambodian community unites in nearby Bayou La Batre to chant and pray for the spirit of the deceased. Money is collected to help support the families. Food and drink is abundant. In Samui Chim, the sister of one of the victims, we see a teenager attuned to American life who knows these traditions are important, but doesn't quite grasp why.
They just do that every generation. It's just keep on going.
Trying to instill their culture and language in youngsters such as Samui is proving to be quite a challenge.
I don't know the deep words like in Cambodian, but I know most English. I just don't know the most Cambodian words.
The Cambodians know how to work hard. When your background includes laboring in the rice fields 14 hours a day, it's easy to crab pick in an air-conditioned factory. 2 Cambodian families run Interland Seafood, started a few years ago to provide local employment. Tara Swon, a recent high school graduate, supervises his aunt, uncle, mother, and many others from down the road.
It's a good community that we have this, because one thing is the Cambodian kid, the little one, the next generation, it keep them well aware of what their custom is like. It's almost like back in the country,
Homes in the Irvington community are on 3-acre lots, once just scrubland. Incredibly, in just a few years, many of the 26 families here have already bought their homes. They save and pool as much family money as possible to buy instead of borrow. And they live off the land. Sizable gardens are part of all the lots.
That's, the most favorite of the Cambodian people. The look like pumpkin over here, but the taste is very good.
New families join the community every year, and there is plenty of room to grow. Plans include training men in the local construction industry and forming a Cambodian daycare center. Meanwhile, the Cambodian community struggles with the challenge of preserving their culture without being overwhelmed by their past. Tara was 8 years old when his family found refuge in Alabama, but not before 6 of his sisters were murdered by the Khmer Rouge.
But I always keep in mind that I want to go back and see my country, what it's like. Because when I left, I hardly remember anything, the good part about my country, you know. The only thing I remember is in my memories, all the bad parts that happened to us.
They've gone through a Holocaust, many of them. They have started second lives. I think that bespeaks the strength of their character and the fact that they can adapt to new situations and new economic conditions.
So they're here looking for the future, and they love it here. They really, some of the older ones want to go back, but the rest of them, they call it Freedom Land, because they can do things here that are just unbelievable in their country.
They come to the table bearing gifts of food and money that will be used by visiting monks. Bamboo baskets of sticky rice, bowls of fruit. But this bossy, as it's called, is not at a Buddhist temple in their native country, Laos. It's at the FOP Lodge in Opelika, Alabama. There's one reason they're here, and there's one reason they are more integrated into this community than the Cambodians are in communities on Alabama's Gulf Coast.
Number one is the job.
Among the 350 Laotians in Opelika, the job is Diversified Products, DP, manufacturers of home fitness equipment.
Well, we've got between 1,500 and 1,600 employees here. And out of that, we probably got 10% Asian population here.
Diversified Products took a chance and hired the first Laotian refugees who came to Opelika under the sponsorship of the Catholic Church in the late 70s. They put them to work alongside native Alabamians.
And they just perform admirably. They're always here on time. In fact, most of the time they're here early. They want to work more than 8 hours a day. They like the overtime. They like to work hard.
The company was pleased with the Laotians, and the Laotians were pleased with the work. Knowing that jobs were available, the refugees were able to sponsor friends and family members who were in camps in Thailand or unable to find work in other American cities.
Diversify have 2-3 people that work there. They make such a good reputation, and that person will say, "This is my family, my relatives, my friend," and they hire them.
They're a very integral part of our operation here.
The work can be difficult. There's welding, drilling, punching, lifting. But more may be required of all the workers, including the Laotians. The management wants employees who can participate in brainstorming, team building, and problem solving. Those things take good communication skills. But some of the Laotian workers speak relatively little English.
It's not just Laotians who have recently immigrated here to this country who don't have verbal and written English communication skills. It's also Americans that don't have it.
Ten Hansena has been an effective and loyal DP employee despite her limited English skills. She's been at the plant for more than 10 years. Now, once a week at home, she takes advantage of an English tutoring service offered by the Alabama Council on Human Relations. The director of the service says there are several reasons many Laotians want to learn English.
Well, I think the first thing is to get ahead economically, to simply survive. But I think the majority of them wish to fit into American society without giving up their own values. I think they came because they share a lot of American values and they want to participate in democracy as fully as they can.
Perhaps few Americans in Opelika understand the Laotians as well as Jerry Roden. He knows these people are not just learning a new language, they are rebuilding their lives. Many of them were persecuted by the communists in Laos and lost everything before they fled to America.
They went through everything from being in prison, some of them. I was suffering terribly, some of them for a long period of time in prison.
One DP worker tells such a story. Bunchan Rajfami, Boon as he's called, was an officer in the Laotian military and fought on the side the United States supported. He paid dearly for that when the communists took over.
Many of our people over there, especially the military, the people in the military service and government servant, will be sent what they call the seminar camp. But it's a jail. I've been in there for 9 years. In my place, there are over 300 officers. Most of us has been chained, and I was chained for 5 years. I see people get killed. I see people dying, hungry, get sick, beaten. I don't know why they do that. But what they get after they did that, they get nothing. Laos still poor now, and very poor, poorer than before. They get nothing.
Boone finally escaped the camp by forging documents and bribing officials. When he arrived in the U.S., he had nothing but his family and the clothes on his back.
I feel that we have to start from zero because we have nothing with us. I got to find a job, get to put the family, learn how to speak English. It's hard.
Ironically, the children of the poorest Laotian families in Opelika get the best chance to learn English. Children in low-income families qualify for Head Start, an education program for preschoolers.
They have a lot of experience, and when they come to Head Start, they learn how to speak English real well and get them ready for public school and for kindergarten.
All the Laotian children would benefit from Head Start, but usually once one of the parents gets a job, the children are unable to attend. The family makes too much money.
I wish we had some kind of policy to change that the minority children, the foreigner children, can come in according to their speech or language or something that we can, wish we had that policy because the program is very excellent for them to be in.
Because they work and live with other Alabamians and not just other Laotians, these refugees are becoming part of the community. But they wonder, does this mean they will lose their Laotian heritage? Will this bossy mean anything to their sons and daughters who have grown up with MTV and visits to the mall?
I know it's very difficult, but I want her to know my culture, know my custom, and I want them to get Americanized too, but to be Americanized, but I want her to observe my custom also.
Yeah, it's one major part of concern, that become too Americanized.
I suppose that no one is quite satisfied with that balance, but it seems to me that they've done a remarkable job in that way, of becoming both American and still retaining some of the best features of being Laotian.
During the past decade, the small coastal town of Bayou La Batre has experienced probably the most unusual cultural change in the 200 years since the French maintained an artillery battery near here. 950 Vietnamese refugees have relocated in the town and its surrounding area.
Most of Vietnamese in Bayou La Batre were the fishermen in Vietnam. And Bayou La Batre is the seaport. So it's not difficult for them to adjust their lives here because they can find their job and they can practice fishing, swimming, and the weather here is similar to that of Vietnam.
Chung Nguyen came to Bayou La Batre in 1984 to work on his brother-in-law's shrimp boat. Chung now owns his own boat and home.
Well, I love it over here because the neighbor around here is very good, and then easy for me to watch the children, see. And I'm with the children right now, both parents had to go to work and had no time with them, and then they just hang around with the gang and drug and all that, and that's what I don't like it to other big towns, see.
Dung Ton Minh was a captain in a South Vietnamese militia unit. He and his family escaped Vietnam in 1985 and came to Bayou La Batre for the same reason other Vietnamese have. a job.
Tại sao anh chọn Bayou La Batre?
Ở chỗ này thì thấy làm ăn được, rồi một ngày kiếm đôi 30 đồng, 20 đồng được, sống được, vì ở đây luôn chứ không có đi đâu nữa. Tôi thì tuổi đã lớn rồi, không thể đi làm hãng xưởng nào được, không ai mướn được, thì ở đây đi đập từ cái càng ghẹ.
See, my boy, he come down and work with me, and then he said he don't want to be the shrimper when he grow up.
As most of the older Vietnamese hold to the traditions and language of their homeland, the younger generation has become Americanized. They aren't satisfied with fishing for a living.
Either go into dentistry or be a medical doctor.
They're somewhere in the field of science or mathematics.
Go to college, major in nursing.
At our school here, we're 10% Asian. They seem to fit in. They thrive in the math and the science and do real well in the extracurricular activities in that area. The great majority of them have been here long enough to be fluent in English and fluent in our customs and our traditions here.
We get education and all that stuff that we couldn't get back in Vietnam, where, here it's so easy to get education. Because in Vietnam, you need money in order to get education, even though you're rich. But still, if you don't have enough money, you can't afford to have education.
They're teaching the elders how to live in the United States. And I feel like as the younger ones get older, then they're going to go ahead and mesh into higher society much better than they are to this date.
Even though the older generation is finding jobs and enjoying a desirable climate in Bayou La Batre, some continue to face difficulties with language and adaptation.
Integration to the new life, with the new way of life, with the new custom. For that reason, many of the Vietnamese try to live together in a quarter, so that they can have one another easily.
The Refugee Resettlement Program conducts classes 3 nights a week to help refugees improve their English and familiarize them with the American culture. But they still feel a strong need for solidarity.
They are a community within our community. They have their own stores. They are very family-oriented. That's the Asian heritage. They have a lot of money. I believe that one of the reasons that they have so much money is the fact that they have several families living together and they pool their resources together. They work together, they live together, they associate together, and they pool their money together. So therefore, they do have readily available cash.
Russ Stork runs a marine products business where fishing boats are refueled, their catches unloaded, and ice is supplied to keep the new catch fresh.
Most of my business is Vietnamese. It's probably 70% Vietnamese, my business. I'll probably see 50 to 70 a week Vietnamese. I found that they pretty well pay their bills, a lot of them, you have to work with a few of them, but they're pretty reliable. We've got a lot of trust in one another.
There are 3 Oriental groceries in town. Vien Dong owns one, as well as a billiard room next door. He opened the store to supply Vietnamese fishermen with Oriental food for their 7 to 14-day cruises. His business is one example of how the relocation has had an economic impact on the area.
Our Asian workers are excellent workers. They come whenever the work's available. They'll work all day, work as long as they have to or as much as they have to. We had a lady that was working here that was expecting a child, and she stayed and worked, did her basket of crabs and her water broke, stayed through all that, weighed her meat up, went home and took a bath, and then went to the hospital and had her baby.
To try to be fair and give both sides, with the impact of the Asians, many of them are commercial fishermen, and they have put a larger strain on our natural resources.
As far as the boat owners are concerned, it has been detrimental to our local shrimpermen and our fishermen because they take away from their catches.
We have seen some activities that we really don't appreciate by the Asians, such as pulling shrimp nets in illegal waters and some of the illegal activities.
They do violate, but we have found them to be neither more nor less law-abiding than the other commercial fishermen. We do have a communication problem, but Mr. Long and the Catholic Social Services assist us by translating news releases and rules and regulations.
But the communication broke down at sea the last week in August 1992. 6 Vietnamese shrimpers didn't receive the warning about Hurricane Andrew. Their bodies were recovered during the taping of this segment. Their boat, the Lucky Lee, their hometown, Bayou La Batre.
If you have a question or comment about this program, or if you'd like to purchase a copy of it, please write The Alabama Experience, Box 87,000, Tuscaloosa, Alabama 35487. Please include the word refugees on your request.